The U.S. Nationals is 40 years old, and in the beginning, the sport of drag racing began its climb to major league status with events like the Nationals. Bikes came later, sort of an oddity in the beginning, now a big part of the sport, and part of the NHRA family reunion at the 40th Annual U.S. Nationals.
Motorcycles first competed at Indy in 1973 and led by names like Robert Moriello, T.C. Christensen, Frog Thacker, and later Terry Vance. Motorcycles have now become an integral part of this, the 40th Annual U.S. Nationals.
This is the Suzuki Pro Bike Challenge. The U.S. Nationals, Indianapolis, Indiana, the 40th anniversary running. This is the event of the NHRA season. In fact, the nickname of this race is the Big Go. Why? Because no matter how big or small you are, you got to go to the Nationals. There's more publicity, there's more people, there's more prestige with this event than any other on the NHRA schedule. Not to mention the competition. The best racers in the world are here. And it always looks great on your racing resume to have a U.S. Nationals victory. Bob Fry is with a guy right now who has not won the Nationals, but would sure love to.
Bill, two of the three guys in this picture have a lot to do with making the Anoka-Ramsey motorcycle run down the racetrack. Dave Harland, who does all the really tough work, he's kind of the grunt over here. John Smith, he gets all the glory riding the bike, and me, I'm just kind of along for the fame and fortune of being on TV. John, last year you did two things that nobody else did against Dave Schultz. You went to the final, and you got a green light.
Yeah, Dave was getting a few gimmies to him, given to him at that race, and I wasn't about to do that for him. The end result kind of was the same for Dave, but you know, he's been running real good. He deserves to win, I guess.
Guys got to like the performance of your bike since the middle part of this year.
Yeah, we kind of ran into a little bit of power in the middle of the year and starting to get it ironed out right now, and things are looking better.
The Anoka-Ramsey guys ought to love the weather right here. It's cool and it's damp and it's kind of nasty, just like a Chamber of Commerce day back in Minnesota. Well, if these guys need extra power to run down Dave Schultz, they might get it from their engine builder, who's also doing double duty here this weekend. For more on that, here's Alan Reinhardt.
Bob, Rick Ward isn't the first mechanic to decide he wanted to have some fun and ride the bike himself. George Bryce did it last year. You may remember Byron Hines a couple of years ago got on a bike and actually won a race. So, Rick, you've been building engines, you've been working on bikes. What made you do it?
I guess standing on the starting line and see all the other guys have the fun just kind of made me want to try it. And after trying a little bit and doing pretty fair at it, I think it's time to ride a little bit. So
Now, this is obviously a brand new bike. Hasn't even been to the paint shop yet. How much potential does it have?
I guess we're even a little surprised with how it ran here. I think it'll hang with these guys. Like I say, we just need a little more power and a little more time tuning the clutch and the computer.
You may recognize his shirt. He does all the engine work for the Anoka-Ramsey team, the bike that John Smith rides. And you may even recognize his leathers. It says Vance and Hines. Borrowed them from his old boss, Byron.
He may need windshield wipers, though. We got the wet nasties here in Indy. Cloud cover thicker than the Sunday papers, but there's one guy who doesn't let the weather get in the way of him. You may have heard of him, Dave Schultz. Boy, he is on a rip.
Schultz has just continued to dominate this pro stock motorcycle field. Schultz over there on the far side of the racetrack in his qualifying run set a brand new track record at 7.55. The national record, which he also owns, is 7.54 seconds. Schultz precariously close to setting a brand new national record. Look at this. There is Dave Schultz, and then there's the field. The consummate rider in pro stock motorcycles leaves little room for error. 755, 172.
Here are the top qualifiers here at Indy. Dave Schultz, where else? Number one. And it's Myers, Bernard, Mafaro, Smith, Phillips, Ward, and down at the bottom, Hector Arana.
And look at Schultz, 0.06 of a second quicker than the number two bike. And the points, Dave Schultz, a lot of daylight between him and the rest of the field. Myers, Bernard, Smith, Nyberg, they are all running for second place.
Here's the ladder. On one side, it's Myers, Ayers, Ward, Johnson, Bernard, Patrick, Phillips, and Kawakami. Worked that one out a few times.
Myers worked out at 7.67 to advance past Ron Ayers, and then the man that we just saw, Rick Ward, in the near lane, would take on Steve Johnson, the Slick 50 rider out of California. In qualifying, Rick Ward, number 7. Steve Johnson qualified in the 10 slot. Looks like before and after for an Earl Scheib commercial right here. There's the meticulous Slick 50 Suzuki. That is Paul Bulkey, the crew chief, just off to the right. Little pat on the back to his rider. Steve Johnson says, "Go get him, champ." Very careful to stage was Steve Johnson, and then he broke right off the starting line. So engine builder turned rider Rick Ward would advance to the second round with a very respectable 7.77 at 170 miles an hour. Jim Bernard took out Nigel Patrick, while Michael Phillips in the Bell Additives machine of Harry Lartigue faced off against E.G. Kawakami, riding the bike that took Dave Schultz to the Winston Championship just a year ago. In from Tokyo, Japan, the Sunoco rider trying to get the bike to kick down into the proper gear. Looks an awful lot like Dave's new bike. In fact, so does that. The Bell Additives Houston, Texas runner qualified in the number 6 spot. Kawakami, making only his 3rd appearance on the tour, qualified in the number 11 position. For those of you that might be new to the Suzuki Pro Bike Challenge here on ESPN2, there were about 30 bikes that tried to qualify. They had 3 days to do it. 16 make the field. Number 1 runs 16, 2 against 15, till they come down and meet in the middle. This is Phillips, number 6, Kawakami, number 11, in a first-round matchup. First time ever for E.G. Kawakami at the U.S. Nationals. Kawakami would make his debut a successful one, taking out Michael Phillips 7.91 with a great move on the starting line to Phillips quicker, but losing 7.81, 163 miles an hour.
So this is what the ladder looks like on this side of town. Schultz, Hochbaum, Arana, Gast, Mafaro, Girardi, Smith, Nyberg after the dust had settled. Second round matchups, Schultz and Gast, Mafaro, and Smith. The Suzuki Pro Bike Challenge is sponsored by Suzuki and your local Suzuki motorcycle and ATV dealer. Suzuki, the ride you've been waiting for. We're back on the Suzuki Pro Bike Challenge. If the weather were a horse, they'd shoot it. Look at that. We've got overcast, we've got fog and drizzle, but we've got the U.S. Nationals and round 2 of pro bikes here at the 40th anniversary of this event.
There's a couple of my close personal friends hanging out on top of the tower, and there is a good look at E.G. Kawakami, who was the man in round number 1. When he stopped Michael Phillips, the things get a little bit tougher for E.G. right here. He will take on the blue team. Jim Bernard out of the Wax Shop. Star Racing, squeaky clean, and all that good stuff. A former U.S. Nationals champion here. It was Bernard qualifying number 3, ran a 7.70 in the opening round. Kawakami won on the starting line in that first round, Bill. If he expects to beat Bernard, he's going to have to be quick out of the box again right here.
Well, this will be an opportunity for us to see just how much power Kawakami has in that bike. He will need it against Jim Bernard. If Jim doesn't foul out, you can be sure that he is going to really blast the drag strip on that Suzuki. Pow! The true universal language. A red light for Kawakami. He's out of here. He's making it look good, though, as he gets to the finish line first, but only theoretically. Jim Bernard, the winner, 7.75 at 166.
Good look at John Smith out of the Anoka Ramsey Torco MPZ shop. He gets set for round number 2. He will take on the Kendall GT1 Lubrimatic Machine of Pizza, John Mafaro. Alan?
Jim, that one looked like the adventure really started after the race was over. What happened down here?
Yeah, the rear brake's been real soft on this thing all weekend long, and I wasn't getting stopped in time, so I really grabbed a hold of the front ones and the front wheel locked up, and I just about lost it, but I let off the brakes and it straightened back out. It was all right.
Oh, baby, hang on. You got to hang on to these things. They really do take off in the starting line. Here's the gang from the cold country. That's Big John Nord behind him on the other side. Pizza John Mafaro, the Kendall GT1 Lubrimatic Suzuki. Got to get them all in. He is having his engine now built by Greg Cope. And for the former Winston champ, it is like a born-again motorcycle rider. He is really a factor here this weekend.
These bikes are real thrill rides. 250 horsepower, 600 pounds with rider. They have 60 foot times at about 1 second and 1/10. They're doing about 100 miles an hour in 2 seconds. Any of these riders will tell you they're just holding on for dear life. announcer man says, Mr. Smith, your table is ready, as he gives it away to John Smith with a 768 at 168. So long, John.
Mafaro quicker on the track at 7.67. Watch this. You won't be able to see it with the naked eye. Pardon the expression. I know it's family TV. But John Smith quicker out of the starting gate. That's why his slower 7.68 can beat Mafaro's quicker 7.67. It's Smith into the next round, and Mafaro is out of here. Great run for John Smith. Alan?
John is 68, and you're still cruising at Indy.
Yeah, things seem to be coming together pretty good for us. We're getting quite a bit on the low end part of the track, and you know it's coming all the way down the track. Things are looking pretty good.
Crowd's not looking that good. Boy, they wish they were home watching the Suzuki Pro Bike Challenge, don't they? Anyway, let's go to Bob.
Over the years, there have been some great motorcycle runs here at Indianapolis. Since this is the 40th running of the U.S. Nationals, you get a chance to come to the racetrack and take a look at some of the memorabilia, history that has made this event so great. Now, if you weren't fortunate enough to get to the racetrack, how could you find out about everything that's gone on in the past 40 years? Simple. Read National Dragster. And you can get National Dragster by becoming a member of NHRA. For $52 a year, we'll send you 48 issues of National Dragster, plus a pin, a patch, a decal, and a rule book. And if you call the number on your screen right now, we'll also send you a copy of the Diamond P video, Drag Racing 93. So come on, make that call. It was so neat being at Indy and getting a chance to take a look at all this old stuff. Speaking of old stuff, that's Al Brown, the only guy ever to run all 40 U.S. Nationals.
Yeah, too bad he isn't really young like you. Anyway, we're going to get back to action in just a couple of minutes here on the Suzuki Pro Bike Challenge as John Myers voids the warranty on his bike.